Good afternoon, everybody watching. I've got a little giggle on because let's do it this way. Vicky, who would have thought we would end up here?
Not I.
Let's do this just so it's not an inside joke. How long have I known you? When did we meet? Because this is 2020.
Okay, you do the math. I'm not the math person. 1996? Was it 96?
No, let me think. No, because in 96, I would have been 19 years old and I was gone.
Okay, so it was probably 93, 94.
93, 94. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
93, 94, a long time.
What a long, strange journey it's been.
It has. I'm very happy to still be here.
Same here. You know, we both prospered and gotten a lot out of it. But wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's just interesting. As I rapidly approach maturity, I strongly believe that once you hit high school, people don't change. They just become more of who they already were. It takes a lot for someone to change after that point, but I think that we become more of who we already are.
I do believe that in certain aspects, yes. You know, sometimes there are some people that grow as they become older and mature. They may tend to grow in the later years as well.
I think having a family could be part of it.
Oh, absolutely. That will make you grow in ways you never knew you could.
And for the record, tell your husband he can come on and say hi. He doesn't have to be camera shy.
Oh, he doesn't care for the camera. I did ask him.
All right. Well, I mean, the door is always open.
Oh, he doesn't care for the.
So, all right. Well, let me do this. When I asked you to come by and you said why, you know, we caught up. Let me back up. We actually had a couple of things in common more than I think I realized at the time. Good morning, Brother Sid. Because I actually found this. Let's see. Where'd it go? Look at that.
No. And that is not my room. I must admit.
Sure,
yeah. That's not my room.
So you mean to tell me you're not gonna own that Bobby Brown? You're not gonna own that?
No, I'm not owning that room. Yes, I was in Porter Hall. I was visiting in Porter Hall at Buffalo State College.
Because while I didn't go to Buffalo State College, I went to Johnson & Wales University and New Mexico State University. I was in the Upward Bound program at Buffalo State College.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up knowing a little bit more about Buffalo State College. And you attended there, right?
Yes, I actually went through the EOP program prior to entering college. And then I went to Buff State for 4.5 years.
What is EOP?
Educational Opportunity Program. Typically set up for, they coin it as disadvantaged youth, or in terms of providing scholarships for schools. So for my whole 4.5 years, I was fortunate enough to only pay $2,500. I didn't have to take out any student loans when I was in school. So the EOP program prepares you for the college years. So I went through that program.
And see, I went through Upward Bound, which prepared us, because I know one of the problems that we have with Black students isn't just getting us into college. You know, I was prepared to go, but I also had a lot of support once I was there, and I didn't realize how high the attrition rate was for a lot of us who make it to
Yeah.
university. Have the support. They give you all support to get you there, and when you get there, a lot of people. I mean, I'm related to people who didn't complete college, not because they were simple brained or anything like that. It's just they didn't know the mechanisms through which to maintain who they are.
Right. I mean, I think EOP is very similar. You know, they gave us all an opportunity to succeed in ways we might have not been able to succeed. My grandmother actually raised a lot of funds for EOP before I even thought about, I never thought that I was college material. I was pretty much typically an average student. My first year of college, I think I registered for 15 classes and finished with 9 credits. But, I made it through. So it gave us an opportunity. Pardon?
What'd you graduate with?
I have a Bachelor of Science. I knew you were going to ask me that. And I looked at it last night and I said, he's going to ask me what my degree is in. Look, I graduated.
Well, I know what your degree in.
It was a general Bachelor of Science. My concentration, of course, was social work, human sexuality. That's how I met you working for Planned Parenthood. I did a lot of education around puberty, human sexuality, bodies, self-awareness classes, things like that while I was in college and even after I graduated. And that's how I met you at Planned Parenthood, because I did a lot of community education with Planned Parenthood.
When I was in high school, for the people watching, Niagara Falls, New York had an outreach program where students would get trained in just talking about sexual health, and we would talk to different groups and organizations, and Vicky was my boss.
I was your boss, and thank you, Miss Lillian, about my glasses. I love these glasses. At first, I said it took me a long time to make the decision on these glasses, and coming up, I never wanted to wear glasses, and now I love the fact that I can get them actually from all over the world. These came from France. They're Francis Klein, and I love these glasses. Yes.
Are those wooden? Are those carved wood?
No, it's like the hard plastic type material, but they are handmade in Paris. But I get them from Visualize here in Buffalo, New York.
Well, these are metal, and they came off a factory press, and they're pretty plain.
Mm-hmm. As long as I can see, that's all that's important to me. It's the simple things in life, right?
Well, just to get into it, what I wanted to talk to you about was I wanted to talk to somebody who was a wife, a mother, a businesswoman about. We tend to overgeneralize the state of the Black families in America, and we want to talk in these macro issues. And I remember one of the conversations that we had. By the way, can I show them a picture of the twins?
Sure, it's fine. There's some online.
Let's see, because I just picked some of the most adorable. Look at that.
That's Madison and Mackenzie. They're fraternal twins. They're 9 years old, and they were truly a surprise. Truly.
So when the doctor looked at your belly, did he say, "What? There's more than one in there"?
Yes, we were both in quite a bit of shock. Absolutely.
But it's not about in your family or your husband's family.
We asked that question. My mom said there were some down the lines, but there's no one in our immediate family that had twins. I believe it was based on because of my age, possibly that I could kick 2 embryos out. I really don't know. But I was really allergic to kids. I would babysit my nephews on occasion, but children, my thing was working, volunteering, things of that nature. I wasn't ready. So I waited. And that was the biggest thing I spoke about when I taught all my classes is you have to be ready. You have to be prepared. And I think that's the biggest part of being a parent and raising kids and everything, that a lot of individuals don't prepare. They're not ready. They think they're ready. And I even thought I was ready and I wasn't ready. And I thought I prepared as best as I could, and I could have prepared more.
Well, that gets into a very hazy bit of the discussion, because we often talk about people who aren't prepared for children having children, yet the best, I don't have any kids. I'm like you, I'm allergic. But the best parents I know are the ones who at least tried.
Hold on, vibrate. Go ahead.
The ones I know that became the best parents at least tried ahead of time. They had a little something put together.
Well, yeah, sometimes they at least tried, but I'm telling you, you don't know. You really honestly don't know until you get there, because everyone's experience is different. Even though you have, it's good to have someone to help you, like your mother, your father, your aunt, or godparents, or whomever, to help you and to give you lessons in life. But to go through it, there's so many things you experience and you learn on your own or together.
So let's go with this when we talk about families, because you were a young woman a few generations ago, and your children you had later in life. Do you see it as more difficult to raise a quote unquote nuclear family, mom, dad, and 2 kids, safely and sanely now than it was when you were a girl?
No, absolutely. Yes.
What are the things you find your
yes and no. I have to double respond to that. I say yes.
We got time.
Well, the reason why I say yes is because that old saying that things have changed, things aren't the same. We used to be able to stay out, and we used to have to be home by street lights. And we would be all over the place. Our parents, we'd be up and down the city of, around North Buffalo, and we would play until dusk. Now it's you have to know and keep your eye on your children at all times. And I'm not saying there weren't individuals who weren't sane back then, or predators and things like that, but it seems like the world has changed so much, and you have more human trafficking, you have all of those different crazy things, stray bullets, drive-bys. Your kids have to be close, within arm's length. So the world is different, and things have changed. So you have to be aware, and you have to have your hand on your kids at all times, because if you don't, you have more of a chance of losing them to something, whether it's addiction or street life or gun violence or anything.
The street life isn't new, though. I know the street life isn't new. I knew in my generation, some of the guys that I graduated high school with, some of them didn't even graduate. But when I graduated, I remember. Oh, you're putting your phone on silent?
Yes, I'm putting it on silent. I forgot to do that. I apologize. That's all. I'm just putting it on silent because it keeps. There you go.
You're a busy woman. If anybody wants to reach out to who she is professionally, if you want to make contact, Vicky has a very, very plain blue background on her LinkedIn. But
you did some research on me, huh?
The good thing about this channel, and for the record, those watching right now, make sure you click like, share, and subscribe. But I found that doing what I do here, and we talk about 3 things on this channel. We talk about world travel, not just my life in Brazil. We talk about social issues like what we're discussing. We talk a lot about money, which is my favorite subject. But I've been able to network with people and bring people together that ordinarily never would have met, who've been able to give each other opportunities. So I say, hey, here's who she is professionally. Catch up with Vicky on LinkedIn, and you may have something for each other. Because you're at the governor's office now?
I'm actually with the Employee Assistance Program, which is under the Governor's Office of Employee Relations. Yes.
Gotcha. All right. So, like I said, the street life isn't new. People have been lost in the street life.
It's not. It's not new, but it's very different. I would never even imagine we don't even let our girls in front of the house without us being out there. And we have surveillance cameras all around our property, but we still wouldn't let them out there alone. I don't care where you live, they're in the safest neighborhood, whatever that is, but there's always something. And I know some people would coin me as a helicopter parent, but I don't feel as though I'm a helicopter or I'm always hovering over them. But we do what is in our power to keep them as safe as we possibly can, right now. So I do feel as though the world has changed from back then when you were in the theatric program, educating about HIV and all of those things. It's very different. You still have kids, young teenagers having kids when they're young, but at the same time, there's so many other issues that they're dealing with, mental illness, and that's a huge thing. So that's the thing that I see that's different. Will our kids ever be able to find a reasonable relationship to be in with someone who has common sense? I want people to have common sense, and a lot of people just don't. Some kids just don't have it. They're raising themselves. So if they don't have that foundation that we're providing to them, it's like I'm in front of the camera now, but it's different. I just came from the apple orchard. We just came from picking apples. And, that was one thing they really wanted to do. So I got them up early. We went and we picked apples. But you think about something as simple as picking apples, that shouldn't necessarily be, it's something fun to do, but there is a cost associated with it.
How
so
I don't understand. A cost associated with apples? There's a cost associated with picking apples?
Oh, yes. Yep. And the reason why I say that is we were having a conversation on the way back is that not every child has an opportunity to experience everything in life, whether it's going camping or coming outside of their comfort zone or their neighborhood or where they are. But picking apples, I have to budget for that. And I never really thought about budgeting for picking apples or recreation for kids. They've been in the house primarily because of the pandemic, but we wanted them to be able to experience that. Again, we usually do it every season, but you pay for the apples by the pound after you pick them. Then, of course, they sell you those hot donuts that you don't need. So by the time we're all said and done, you've spent like $50, $60.
Wow.
But it's more of the experience, the reason why we do it.
Wow. Because I remember, with me being a kid, I'm a millennial. I mean, did I just say I was a millennial? I'm just reading that word too much. I'm Generation X. I just remember being given a bicycle and just heaved out the door. Go visit your relatives across town. One of them, pick a cousin. You have many. Go, just here.
Yeah.
See you later. You get a flat tire.
You can't do that anymore. You can. People can, and they do. Because actually the girls think it's the strangest thing. We'll be driving down the street and they'll say, that little boy is all by himself. And he could be younger than them or around the same age. So you do still have parents that do that, or they may be working and they do allow their kids to do it. I'm just saying that we don't. Because we see things that other people may choose not to see.
Well, that may lead me into what I'm going to ask you. What do you mean? You see things that other people may not.
What do I mean by it?
Yeah.
Well, I see, because of the profession that I work in, people call, with the employee assistance program, people call when they have problems in life, work-life issues. So I research a lot about resources in the community. So I know, and I'm just that type of person because I worked at Planned Parenthood. We taught about human sexuality, but child sexual abuse was a big thing in terms of education. Now you're seeing it more so in the media, but at the same time, I'm the person that will go on the public site to see how many pedophiles live around my home.
You know,
So
did
that's
that,
the thing.
and he told me it was the most terrifying thing he'd ever done.
Yeah. That is, so when people do, I'm not saying that to place fear in people. My thing is that I need to be knowledgeable about who's around me. And if there's means out there to actually look it up, I want to know, because that's why we won't let them be outside. And then the human trafficking is huge, even here in Buffalo. People will try and, snatch your kids in the store, things like that. So it's not living our lives in fear. We're not living our lives in fear. We're living our lives informed. So that's how we move. We live our lives informed. It's just like if we, this home, when I was telling the girls, I don't know if you know this, and I was working from Planned Parenthood, I won $3,000 in the radio, and this is how I built this home. And the girls are like, really? I was like, really? But this home is 22 years old. If we chose not to keep it up or put a new roof on it or solar panels or rain barrels like we do, it would fall apart. We have to be educated on pretty much everything. So that's why we have to be educated around everything with our kids. You have to be aware of everything, and you can't just throw them out there the way we used to, because the world has definitely changed. And there are other positive things, because I don't like to always talk about the bad things. There is a beauty of the world changing, the changing of the diversity of the world, the things that they can do, the opportunities for them if the doors are opened. And I think that's our job as a parent, is to help them have opportunity. If they choose to go to college, or if they choose not to, they can choose to start their own business. So setting them up early to learn how to save their money or plan, so they don't have all the mistakes that we possibly made when we were young.
Well, here's the thing. You said something that triggered me. You said if they go to college. I have some younger cousins who are about college age who have just waged absolute war against me, because I come from that old, hard, you got to go to college no matter what. We got to figure out a way for you to go to college. Yet they're trying to tell me that because I was able to simply work 2 jobs and get some school loans, that world doesn't exist anymore. That it's not possible for them to simply, and the cost of college has gone up exponentially, and we're caught in an awful situation, because if you don't go to college, you're locked out of certain things. However, if you do go to college and you don't play it just right, you could be lining yourself up for a lifetime of debt. I'm fortunate. I had mentors that really helped me figure out how to do things, so I wasn't caught in those situations. But at the same time, from the world that I live in, I worked in corporate America for a while. Now I run my own businesses. I still feel like college, particularly for Black people, is the lowest price of admission we can pay. Is that an unreasonable?
Say that again?
Is that an unreasonable statement?
I wouldn't say it's an unreasonable statement. Even though I went to college and I graduated, it didn't cost me a whole bunch of money to do that because of the program that I went through. But I don't necessarily feel, and their father doesn't necessarily hold the same value of spending that money on college. And we plan to give them the choice. It's not as though I'm not saving, like I don't have a 529 plan for them to save. But if they want to, go into a trade, if they want to make pottery, or if they want to be an artist, or if they want to be a designer. Now, I realize that, some designers have to go to design school, but not all individuals who are successful go to college. Now, did college open up opportunities for me? It did in many ways. I was able to get my job at Planned Parenthood and then keep building to get to different positions with my experience. But, as we all are in this pandemic and home, people are rethinking their roles, especially if they're losing their jobs. Where if you ask me honestly, what I learned in school, in college, or in high school that helps me today, I couldn't necessarily pick like a course except Alice Sullivan at Buffalo State College. And that was dealing with the human sexuality, which helped me get into Planned Parenthood. But everything else I learned while I was working.
I understand that, but at a certain point in American history, a college degree became equal to a high school degree, and that if you don't have it, you are locked out. For example, I'm an independent business owner. I've run small businesses. I have a couple of different businesses. I have another here in Brazil. One of the first and most important things I tell people when they start their own businesses is that you will hit a ceiling financially if you don't have some degree to justify to them why they should pay you as a freelancer or an independent so much more than they would if they simply hired someone. Because they need to be able to go back to their holders and say, we can pay this. And even if the degree is unrelated, that's the crazy part. They have to be able to say, well, he's educated, and that's going to justify us paying him 20% above market. Good afternoon, MC Worker.
Yes, in some aspects it can, but in other aspects, no. Especially if you're offering a service to someone who has a need. And, for example, I was on a Zoom call the other day with work, and the girls came running up because they said there were bees in the fireplace. We have a gas insert, and they could see the bees in the fireplace. Well, the bees were yellow jackets. Okay. Now they came last year and they were hornets. This year they were yellow jackets. So to see them through the glass, that was scary. Now, when I called the beekeeper, I didn't care if he had a degree or not. I knew he was coming to this house to rectify those yellow jackets. And it was quick for me to write that $120 for him to be here for less than an hour. So that was a service that I needed. I don't know if he went to college. I know he does the bees for Wegmans. He has a very good business, but he's a successful business owner. And I paid it because there was the fear of those yellow jackets getting in his darn house. So that would be an example of a trade. And I think a lot of individuals are getting away from, because as people, we still need things. If your sewer backs up, you need a professional plumber. And I mean a good one, because they have to go out front in your pipes. So there's things like that. Electricians, yes, you want someone who's licensed. So it's things like that where they may go to school for a trade and get a certificate, but they may not necessarily need to go for those 4 years. And people do value, for example, so it's just things like that, showing them the worth of our skills. Because just because I have an extensive resume and I have years of experience, put me in a kitchen. People appreciate the things that I cook. And so that's something that I give back to my family. I know how to cook, and people enjoy my food, and people appreciate, good food. So those are examples that I don't feel as though it could go either way, having a degree and not having a degree. People can be successful because some kids actually struggle, and then they end up paying these loans back and they never even use the degree.
No, I agree with. As a matter of fact, I have a good buddy of mine named Pat, and we did a video called Blue Collar Wisdom because we were in college together. Now get this, he told me a secret on air that I didn't even realize. He didn't graduate. His dad was an electrician, and he was an electrician. He just followed his dad's footprints, and he became an electrician. And let me tell you, he leads a very profitable life. And the real rub was that as an electrician union, he can get up in the morning, go to his office, which is a work site, for 9 hours, come back and be home for dinner every night, 5 days a week, and makes quite a. It was called Solidarism. I hope you guys check that out.
And that's the beauty of running your own, business is in some aspects you have an opportunity to run your own schedule. And I have family members that have their own business and they can choose to travel or go somewhere for a couple of days, but I have to show up or I have to put in for vacation time to have off, things of that nature. So I do see the beauty of being an entrepreneur and having a business, and living your life that way. But it really just depends on what you have the ability to do and if people need it, because that's the thing that, in terms of our businesses, it has to be something that people need. Because sometimes people want and the wants may change, but the needs, our needs generally never change if they're the basic needs in life.
Reese Delk, email me. We got to coordinate and chat soon. I'm looking forward to talking to you. We were supposed to talk a while back, but we never really connected it. So I'm YusefWateef at gmail.com. I want you to email me your number. Let's talk soon. Bam. But yeah, I understand what you mean. If it's a need, it won't change. But if it's a want, it will change.
Mm-hmm.
It will change.
Mm-hmm. Especially if people, they, living like the Joneses, trying to keep up with their neighbor per se, or their friends, and not, recognizing the needs that, and I think like right now, this is an opportunity for everyone. They're realizing what their wants and their needs really are when we're in the midst of a pandemic. You have a lot of time to think about that stuff. So definitely, wants and needs are things that people have to think about, whether you're offering a service or renewable energy. And that's something that, their father actually is big on in terms of renewable energy, just our whole household, and the benefit of it.
I don't want to get too far away from the college thing. One of the things I talked to you about is I asked you, and this comes from my life of living abroad in many different countries. I've lived in about 15 countries. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, everybody. I always forget to say that, and thank you to BK from the Rockies for bringing that up. This channel has grown tremendously, and I really appreciate everybody who comes by. But make sure you click the subscribe button and share it somewhere on Facebook or Twitter. But what I was going to say to you is I've traveled a bit, and when you talked about your daughters going to college, we can do the math, but it would be depressing to extrapolate the cost of an education. The cost of education. Let's just do this. Let's do cost of bachelor's degree.
It's expensive.
What
year were they born?
What year will they graduate?
Oh Lord, what grade are they in now?
Because it's 2020 now.
It's 2020 now. In 4 more years. You mean from high school? I mean, they're only 9, going on 10. They're only in the 4th grade.
So we'll say 2030.
So they got 8 more years to go.
Average is going to be the total cost for a 4-year degree will be more than $205,000, and that's a public school.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I would say. I remember asking you, are they speaking different languages? And you told me they were speaking, Spanish?
Well, they're learning Spanish. And actually one has taken an interest in, she likes to listen to, oh Lord, what is that, K-pop? So,
really?
Yes. She likes Blackpink. So she sometimes at night she listens to music and then she looks at the captions. So she's picked it up a little bit. So I'm thinking about, expanding her languages with that because she does have an interest in it.
So get this. I have a friend named Ambi, and her channel is very much okay for families and children. We did a video together, and when it comes to learning languages, and when I say family friendly, she has her kids on with her. She's just a really sweet woman, and she speaks about 7 languages fluently as well as some other ones. She's built herself an empire of the language learning community.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you why I say this. One of the tips and tricks that I found with travel that I've seen and generally the things that I learned working in the financial business, I learned because my clients were very wealthy people, and they taught me a lot of tips and tricks outside of investments to use. What a lot of Americans don't know, and even fewer Black Americans know, is that if their girls can graduate high school fluent in any language, they can take the entrance exam to any university anywhere in the world. And let's just say they get accepted to the University of Korea or the University of Madrid, Spain, and you have to pay full price. You've got to pay the full price. That full price is pennies compared to what they would have to pay in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be these bilingual potential businesswomen with roots in 2 different languages that they could then use for, literally whatever they're interested in.
Yes.
Whatever they're interested in. And that's something I strongly, strongly suggest, before they go into high school, decide what they want to actually learn. Because in 4 years, they can become just dead fluent. Dead fluent.
I do see the value for sure in becoming bilingual, even with me learning as old as I am, in terms of just in general, that being bilingual or having the opportunity to learn the different languages is definitely a benefit. It goes back to that, the experience that you have versus, a potential degree, someone who has 3 or 4 or 5 different languages versus someone who may only speak English.
I can tell you that when you learn a second language, it opens doors that you didn't know were there. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to describe it. I agree. Because even,
with most businesses, sometimes you have to translate materials. You may have to hire an interpreter if you have clients that speak different languages. So for sure, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Hey, salute, Gil. But that's what I was going to say to you. It's that whole concept of if your daughters became fluent, and if they learn 2 separate languages, good on them, because the way the world works, if they will have advantages that will only grow. There will never be a downside to speaking 2 languages. There just won't be.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Yes,
and
I agree.
I'm a big guy on the Pimsleur method, but I say learn it all together. Decide to spend an hour a day together learning Pimsleur. Do those half-an-hour classes together as a family. Because when you get to the point, even if you're not fluent, but just conversational, that's when the international borders start open. That's when those international programs for children from other countries to come to our country and do this and that for free. And I will tell you, people love Black folks. People love Black Americans. One of the things that you learn traveling the world is there's no place you're going to go where they say, you're a Black American, we don't like you. It won't happen. America will convince you it will, but when your daughters are conversational in any language and they show up, they're going to have more best friends than they can possibly deal with everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My uncle travels to Brazil quite a bit, actually.
Contact with him.
He teaches dance, actually. He started the Inner City Ballet here in Buffalo, and he lives in Lake City, South Carolina, but he actually travels there, and for the nuns, I believe, that he always takes things over, candy for the kids, but he teaches dance over in Brazil. And then he also teaches dance in South Carolina.
His number, I want to call him today. I'm dead serious. I want to call him today because we may know some of the same people, and at the very least, we will be an awesome connection for both of us to have. I'm a permanent resident here.
Oh, yes, yep, he is, because we always talk to him over WhatsApp when he's in Brazil.
Yep, bingo. Now, see, what did I say in the beginning? Remember when I said that being here opens doors and networking opportunities? I said those words. I prophesied.
You know what? Well, the one thing I get teased by coworkers, some of my coworkers, they say, "Well, who do you know everybody, or do you know?" I'm like, I don't know everyone, but that 6 degrees of separation and knowing people and things like that. But I enjoy. My family enjoys. I have a large family on both sides, so we do know a lot of people. And do a lot of good work, in the community. I stepped down from a lot of my volunteer roles after I gave birth to the girls because my number one job is, raising them. That's my number one job, is raising them. That's what I do for a full time, for a living. What is you for a living? I raise twin girls because it's the hardest job I'll ever have.
And now here's do you get to be, are you a stay-at-home mom?
Well, right now I am. Because of the pandemic, but no, I work full time out of the home. So I work in the office. I'm on the road a lot because I cover Western New York. So I cover 8 counties in Buffalo, New York. I cover 8 counties of Western New York, which is about 28,000 employees in this area. So that's the region that I'm over. And the girls actually go to a charter school. We were planning on sending them to private school. Well, when we saw the cost for kindergarten, it was about 15 grand for kindergarten, and we had just finished spending 12 for daycare. We were spending about 12,000.
Repeat those 2 sentences. What was the cost of daycare?
Daycare, when they first started going to daycare, it was 12 grand a year. And then it would start to go down a little bit as they got older. But then kindergarten, they said it was going to be 15, and they did get accepted into this private school. Mm-hmm. And we both made the decision and said, we can't do this anymore. So that's when I started researching my behind off for the best possible option outside of Buffalo public schools for the girls. And I get
the option for them to go to a private high school. Have you and your husband considered leaving the United States?
No. The only option we've ever discussed in a joking way was going to Canada. A lot of people do. But no, we never thought about it.
We should definitely have this conversation privately if you want, me and your husband. Again, traveling the world has afforded me wisdom in things that I don't even necessarily need because I don't have kids. You would be amazed at how many of the top flight universities and high schools there are around the world. But again, the only place where education costs as much as it does is in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
They can get into schools all over the world that speak English, or even better yet, imagine your daughter is going to bilingual high schools that cost money, by the way, but 10% of what you would go to the United States. That's when you get these people, and there is just especially the past couple of years, there's just a deluge of, and I call it the brain drain. There is a deluge of Black Americans who are the upwardly mobile, educated ones, just vanishing out of the United States, just bleeding out of the United States. When you realize you can have a better life for your children, and safer in countless other countries, my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you something. Let me show you something. And you were saying, no, you hadn't discussed it, or you discussed it and dismissed it. Because if you haven't discussed it, I will throw information at you too that will make your eyebrows go up and say,
no, we haven't. You know what? I've never really thought about it because like I said, we have a big family, but I'm close to my siblings. So I like to stay close to my family. And that's something I want the girls to have is, to be close to our family. And I like having that family support. So that's been, another thing as well, but we haven't necessarily had the conversation about it.
I would like to, at the very least, be responsible for you and your husband privately sitting down and having a real conversation. Even if you say no, I want to throw as much information that I can, specifically and strategically. So you have to say,
I'm telling you no now.
You're afraid of the temptation? You're afraid I'm gonna give you some?
No, I'm not afraid of the temptation. No, I'm not afraid of the temptation. I'm not.
This is one of my businesses that well, it's become probably the one that's taking up most of my time. It's something I do privately, but now I do it full time publicly. Expat relocation services. People hire my company. I have bilingual Brazilians that work for me, and we get all their paperwork for the visas, residency permit processing.
Oh, okay. And then you help them move to a different country.
I help move to Brazil.
Just to Brazil?
We're focusing on, because Brazil is where I am. Brazil is where I'm a permanent resident. Brazil is where I know the paperwork process. And I can tell you, I am, every day I wake up to 2 or 3 new emails. Hey, I want to hire you. Hey, I want to hire you. Because a lot of people realize that the United States isn't going to get better anytime soon, no matter how we cut it.
Well, that's one thing I agree. For sure.
When you look at places that are cost of living versus, for example, most people, when they do research, America doesn't teach you that the rest of the world even exists. So when you find out that countries like, or cities like Sao Paulo, Brazil, which is one of the 10th largest cities in the world, has everything you have in the United States, first rate state of the art, anything for a fraction of the price. People don't know that. People don't realize that, but when they do, they start to like, I have had people get real angry when they finally figure out how little money I actually spend. Because what did I learn as a financial professional is, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you save. I save more of my income than I ever could in America, even working a job that had a high salary, because here the cost of living is so low.
Okay.
My friends that move here with families finally can afford to put their children in top flight education systems. They never would have been able to afford in the United States, with bilingual instructors in Spanish or English or Portuguese or English. One of my friends, and you know, when the schools disbanded, all their students got personal iPads, because the tuition they pay, despite how little it is compared to what we would pay, is enough to finance that kind of level of education. I mean, it's real out there. It's real.
I've always wanted to visit, but not to live.
Well, come on down. Bring the whole family.
I'm not going anywhere right now.
Oh, right. Well, here's a question for you. How do you, as a mom, feel about the situation in the United States right now? Not just with well, let's start with just the quarantine, and how are they handling it for businesses and children out there?
How am I handling it?
Well, first, how is the they, meaning the greater they, meaning state and government, but then you?
Well, this is a scary time. I know that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And it's pretty bad right now. It's in terms of how it looks, in terms of the economy, you know, the people on it, you could just when you drive around town, you can tell, even when we were on our way to Apple Pick, you know, they're selling lots of things. They're selling pretty much anything they can. You know, jobs are going. Yes, jobs will come back. It'll bounce back. You know, just like the Spanish flu, that it was like 2 years that, you know, having to wear masks and things of that nature. But there's some things that may not bounce back at all after this. We're losing a lot of people, but it is a scary time. And then the other thing that I get concerned about, you know, and are the people who were hurting before this pandemic, and how the pandemic has put them in a different place, because it affects everyone. Because people say this doesn't affect me. You know, if somebody was on, if they were a drug addict before the pandemic, you know, they'll still be a drug addict after. Well, you know, it does affect you, because it's affecting the prison system. It's affecting, of course, the economy, the prison system, all of those things. And it affects everything. You know, how they take care of the city, you know, how they're running, the money that's coming into our infrastructure, everything is being affected. So it is a scary time for all. And you're realizing who is going to survive and who isn't going to survive. in terms of the struggle. Because if the struggle wasn't real before, it's really real now.
Wow. It's kind of like in those nature videos when there's a drought, everything gets more dangerous because now you have animals that wouldn't ordinarily attack a lion or a bear or an elephant, thinking it might be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Making that leap is the biggest part of relocating abroad. The fear factor and convenience are difficult for many. Yeah. Craig, I'm on a slow roll. Vicky and her family. I'm a slow roll. I'm going to slowly just start putting in there. Craig, brother Craig, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to catch him. I'm going to get him to come down today. And I'm not going to talk about staying. I'm just going to show, oh, yeah, we can do this and we can do that and we can go here. And, you know, your kids can go, oh, there's, you know what? Oh, wait, this is my friend. She's a teacher at one of the private schools. Say hello to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna ride this pension out for a little while. Because that'll be gone soon too. You know, the pension, people rely on, you know, state pensions and things of that nature, but those are also in jeopardy. You know, nothing is promised, you know, in terms of whatever you have your money into, but you still have to figure out some way to save and prepare. Because your job is not promised to you. You have to figure out different ways of having, you know, and making money while you sleep. You know, that's our goal right now is, you know, saving and figuring out how to make passive income, you know, so we can have and provide a good foundation for the girls. You know, because just like you said, the one thing that their father always drills into my head, it's not about how much you make, it's how much you save and what you do with it. You know, so that's the biggest thing, you know, so someone who can make $100,000 a year and someone who makes 50, and if the $100,000 spends $100,000 or whatever, and the 50,000 saves 25,000, you know, who has more? The person who makes the 50,000 because they've saved half of it. And that's hard, you know, for people to grasp their mind. It's hard for me. I'm a true recovering shopaholic, but enjoying selling everything on Facebook Marketplace right now. All this stuff that I bought that I emotionally spent, I don't need it. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Brother Sid Owsley said you're going to get hooked when you come down here. No. I'm going to catch him. And I'm going to tell you, she's going to think that I'm about to make the soft stuff to her and her husband. No, I'm not. I'm going to catch him through the girl. I won't even do the plane ride itself. I can't even do the plane ride there. I'm going to have their two girls so mad when they have to be, can't we just stay with YusefWateef for a little while? Watch this. I'm be sitting back eating some acai out of a bowl with bananas in it. You know,
it's too far. It's too far. I can't do the plane ride. I can't.
Now, Brother Sid, also something I'd like for you to also consider. The state pension can go a long way in Brazil or almost anywhere outside of the United States. I have a significant and growing chunk of clients who are like, I'm retiring, or better yet, they'll take an early retirement that would give them $3,000 a month, which is nothing in the United States, and you can live very well in a place like Brazil. You can live better than you did in America on $2,000 or $3,000 in Brazil than you did on the $8,000 you made a month in America.
Oh, I guess I always wonder, like, in terms of, because, you know, rents here are high. Rents, not necessarily mortgages, but paying rent. I mean, I always wondered how it was, like, places like Brazil, you know, in terms of what people have to pay for rents and things of that nature.
You're in Buffalo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watch this. I'm going to give you something. Let's see. I'm going to put this on the screen here. It's a cost of living between Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Buffalo, New York. Just to give you a little bit of comparison. Let me run this number real quick. This is part of the research I do for my clients. Now, let's not even go to the indices. Let's just go straight down to the guts. Meal for 2 people, mid-range restaurant, 50 to 25. Cool. Okay. Let's go down to something important. Let's look at food. Let's look at where is it? Beef.
Well, I know food.
I mean, and here's the thing: you'll be healthier here than you could ever be in America, because in America, healthy food is expensive, whereas in Brazil, fast food is expensive. But if you just want to go buy a bunch of groceries that were literally on the farm yesterday, it costs almost nothing.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's, it is expensive, in terms of food, because food is probably my second largest expense every month is food.
Now look at that. Basics: electricity, heating, cooling, water, garbage for an 85 square meter apartment is $171 in Buffalo. Here it's $50.
Okay.
Childcare. Let's go to childcare. International primary school yearly for 1 child. International primary school means they speak English. They're English American teachers. 18 in Buffalo, 9 here. That's a year.
18 what?
1,000. That's a primary school.
You mean like a private school?
International primary school. International schools are the schools where you're living in another country and you have all your teachers who are American or British teaching in English or English and Portuguese.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And those teachers, I can safely say those teachers are extraordinarily high qualified to get the international jobs. The teacher that you're going to get putting your child in an international school in Brazil is, and I'm going to say something inflammatory, it's far more experienced and qualified than the teacher you're going to get in America. Because to get the job as an international teacher, you have to be in the top end of being a regular teacher.
Okay.
We got a quick comment I'll give you.
I'm still not moving to Brazil.
I'm not listening. I'm not listening. You know what I'm doing right now? I'm just planting seeds. I just want you to sit down.
It probably is much cheaper than New York City, but in Buffalo, it's much cheaper than New York City.
Okay, let's look at the rent. For a 3-bedroom near the center in the city, $1,400. I'm not asking you how much you pay for your house, but we're looking at half. You're looking at roughly half housing prices.
That's for an apartment?
3-bedroom apartment.
$1,000. Oh, $800. Yeah, right now that's how much people pay for apartments here. They could be anywhere from $800 to $2,000 for some apartments. But I don't know. I was renting when I was younger, but I prefer to have my own property.
What else do we have going down? But that's just one index that I can show you. Again, I'm not here to give you.
I know.
What I'm saying is we're talking about family, because here's something that he got you on this one.
Oh, it is not that bad. You know what?
I live that bad telling these people that lie.
I am not telling you a lie. You know what? Once you live here, if you're from here, you get used to the weather. And last year, we barely had any snow. There were hardly any snow days. We had some rough days.
You get used to abuse too. That doesn't make it good. So, Vicky, I'm going to give it to you like this. Everything you just said is correct. You do get used to it. But one of the weirdest things that happens, and I want you to talk to people like your uncle who may have lived for a full year outside. You don't know how much of your life you lose to the winter. You don't know how abnormal it is to lose between 3 and 4 months of your life because the weather simply stopped you from doing anything. To live in a place where you have 12 months of being functional, for me to be able to call my buddy Craig up and say, let's go grab some fruit juice on the street today. It doesn't matter.
We can do that too.
I dare you to do that anytime after Thanksgiving. I dare you.
Listen. Oh my gosh. Will you stop it?
Are you
Listen.
gonna wait. When I call Craig to go get some juice, we're gonna go outside to an outdoor juice cafe. They're gonna blend whatever kind of juice we want.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So here, they're being forced to make ways, because in terms of outdoor seating during the pandemic, we have some people that are making ways for people to still sit outside. We have these globes that they sit in with heat at outdoor restaurants. And trust me, listen, I may drive a car, but we have all-wheel drive on our vehicles. So if it's snowing,
stuff like that. It's so foreign to me to live in a place where the weather is fighting against you. You know what?
You just have to have good tires, all-wheel drive, and you'll get there. There's still plenty of things to do in the wintertime.
With you, but watch this. You just said we have to have a good car and all-wheel drive.
Yep.
But all of that is money that could be going towards your retirement or a fun pair of glasses.
It could. Listen, I do my fun glasses in a pre-tax savings plan. I try and save however I can, but the weather can be, if you're from here, you just get used to it. I love the fall. This is my favorite season. Like this morning, he was saying, you know how cold it is right now? I was like, yeah, it's cool, but by the time we got out to the apple orchard, it was hot. The girls had their hood on. They had their sunglasses on. I said, take your hood off. It's not cold anymore. So we go from 45 in the morning to right now, it's going to be 71 degrees. So it's cool in the morning right now in the fall, and then it gets warmer. So in the wintertime, yes. And sometimes I actually want it to snow because that's going to make more money for this household if it does snow. In terms of if he chooses to plow and do snow plowing or things of that nature, that's more income. It's renewable energy. If you use the snow and recycle it for water that's used, or water turns into energy. Look, let's
do this. Let's move past that. One of the last things I wanted to ask about, because it's probably one of the more grim areas of discussion, is when I talk about having a family and the things that a family is in the United States right now. Do you fear for your daughters and yourselves as a family?
Yes. We've had this conversation before. Yes, we do. We do on many levels. We fear. It's so funny you do ask that because we have had this conversation. We're afraid just based on the scarcity, like I said, of finding a mate with common sense, just with human decency, finding that in a partner or the opportunities for them. So we are fearful, and it's, even though we're trying to prepare for them. And that's why we have to work even harder to prepare a foundation for them, or even a nest egg, because we have to leave a legacy for them, where a lot of kids, Black children, they are left with nothing. There's no life insurance, so they're struggling to bury their parents, and there's nothing there but bills. But preparing properly so they have something after we're gone, we don't want to leave them with nothing. We need to leave them with something. And that needs to be some type of business skill and something, because we are fearful of what the future is going to bring. Very much so. We really are. It actually can be scary at times. So I try not to think about it. We think about it a lot, but at the same time, we are getting better at doing something. It's like, well, what are you going to do? So the things that you do is to put your affairs in order. not have people scrambling. I was listening to a book and it said, don't leave all your stuff for your kids to clean up behind you after you're gone. Have everything in order.
Right.
You want to have everything in order. And if that means having a will and an insurance policy, then that means having a will and insurance policy so people aren't going on a GoFundMe account on Facebook asking to bury mama and papa. Put a life insurance policy into place. Not having them be left in debt, leaving them a legacy, to carry on for your family. And that's the biggest thing that we worry about. So in order for us to alleviate that worry, we have to get our butts in gear and do something about it. And I have to be honest, I haven't always been there. Their father is more of a forward thinker and a budgeter and a saver. Me, not so much. I haven't been. I've always been an emotional spender. I've always not liked very nice things, but at the same time, I'm learning that you can still have nice things, but I need to save for them because it's more important to have a roof over my head than to have carry a designer purse. Those things aren't important. Those things aren't going to save me, or help me when we have to pretty much protect our homes. So yes, that long answer that I gave you, we are worried. And what we're doing is we're preparing. And how we're preparing ourselves is we continue to educate ourselves. And I mean, educate ourselves in a fashion of learning about finances, learning about renewable energy, learning how to feed my family on less, in a healthy way. So I find out different things about eating healthy, whether if I find a new local butcher versus, buying somewhere else where the meat may be less quality. So things like that, still giving our girls an opportunity in life where they could still have fun and enjoy life, but have a good foundation to grow in. Did that answer your question?
I'd like to hear more of her. She said the cost of living in Brazil is high when you consider the cost. My clients haven't really encountered that. If you want to go into detail, I'd love to hear more about it. Craig has an interesting question. When was the moment you realized financially that you needed to change?
Well, when all the debt that I'm currently in, the debt, the stress of the debt. It was the stress of the debt. And like I said, I've always been a spender, but at the same time, it was the debt. So the amount of debt and not necessarily saving the way I should, but I spent and I used to buy things emotionally. My father died very suddenly, and the grief, it really took me to places that I never thought I would go. And so I spent, because I felt as though that would make me feel better. And a lot of people, a lot of Black people, they don't deal with the things that they're struggling with. And even though I'm certified to counsel, I counsel a lot of people. I could talk you off of a ledge right now, but when it comes to myself, you get into all that stuff. And and what I found out is that being in this pandemic as well is I don't need all that stuff and all the stuff that I've bought the girls. It doesn't make a difference. They're happy with playing with a box, a box and some bubbles or some chalk. They don't need all that. So, and their father has been pounding this in my head for years about saving. And I always resisted. Why, I don't know, but I just always have. But the stress of it, it's almost like when you hit bottom, you realize that you got to get up because you just hit bottom. And I'm tired of being in debt. I'm tired of paying interest rates, all of those things. So I'm working, so that's when I realized that I needed to change, that this wasn't helping me. Mentally, it wasn't helping my household financially. And how am I supposed to leave them something if I'm spending all the damn money that I'm making? And I just can't do it anymore. And so that's when I found out I needed to change.
Are you still fighting out of that hole, or have you conquered that particular piece?
Oh, trust me, I have a lot more to get out of. Trust me, I was a good spender. I'm still working on it. I'm not even going to lie and say that I was able to pay off $40,000 of debt in a year. No, I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress, but I'm definitely still working on it. But I've never even thought about doing things with my skills. I never necessarily had the confidence to believe that, I could do something for someone else based on my own personal skill set. So I'm rethinking the things that I have the ability to do. All that stuff that I bought, like I told you, I'm selling because I know that I can and people will buy it. So, different things like that. And then at the same time, just trying to enjoy and spend time with them, whether it's reading a book to them or having them read to me, or going apple picking and spending a lot of money on apple picking too. But, just enjoying, giving them lessons. We pick these apples, but guess what? We're about to make apple butter. We're about to make apple pie.
Oh, yeah, the pie.
We're making all of those things. We're gonna make stuff with it because I teach them also how to cook. So there's things that I'm learning. So I'm repurposing. You're never too old to repurpose and continue to change. But definitely, I'm working on the debt part, and that's something that I just have to work out. That I'm working on for sure.
Now, the good thing about life insurance is that your debt won't affect your children's ability to get your life insurance.
Oh, I know. Mm-hmm. Yes, I know. But, a lot of people are fearful about life insurance, and I was that way too, because you have to deal with your own mortality. So you're like, if I buy it, then something's going to happen to me or I'm going to die. And probably one of the first things I did was take out policies. Take out policies on them. I could never fathom or even think about losing my children. But at the same time, I don't want to be online begging people to help me bury my kids. You never want to think about that. But when you get to that point, do you want to get stuck out there and not be prepared? No. So that was one of the first things I did after I had them is I got a will and I upped my life insurance and I bought life insurance for them. It was just something I did.
I wish I had the ability back in time to take this video and show it to my clients because I earned my crust, I earned my freedom. I was an investments and life insurance person. And it was always difficult for some people to conceptualize that life insurance is always a good idea. Oh, by the way, Jessica said we are very much stronger. Everyone, Jessica is a Brazilian woman because her sentence structure, what she means is everyone is stronger for what you're saying. So she sounds the way I sound in Portuguese. Yeah, it's one of those situations where, and also the life insurance on your children can be used as a cash resource for them later.
Yes.
People don't know that, and people don't want to learn.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's even hard to even talk to my own family members because a lot of them, they don't want to necessarily deal with their own mortality, including myself at times. I don't want to necessarily think about it, but I knew I had to prepare, and do it. And I found a lawyer who did everything for me for $395. I was like, and you can do that stuff online too. There's different ways you can do it online, and I know people aren't doing it because, like I said, I see it online all the time. I hate when I see that. I feel really bad when I see all these GoFundMe accounts online and you see them all the time, all the time. And I mean, I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. But I understand because a lot of people are in survival mode, so they don't even think about, all of those things.
You have a husband. He's there. He's just not on camera.
What is it? Wait a minute.
Is having a partner an option for you so you won't carry the load? No, she has a husband. He's just not on camera right now.
We're not. I mean, we're not legally married, but we might as well be. But yes, I don't carry this. I don't carry the raising of the girls alone. There's a lot of things that fall as just being a mother, but they have an active father, in the home. But the bad spending habits, he'll tell you I did all myself because he doesn't do that. He won't spend a dime. So yeah, he's here, because I wouldn't be able to do it without him, and just, any woman, and I'm speaking in a traditional sense or not non-traditional, however anyone defines their relationship, we are in a tradition, however you describe yourself, he, she, her, him, but we're in a heterosexual relationship and we take on very traditional roles in terms of me as the mom and him as the father. But I appreciate him being here as a man, protecting our home and doing what he does best. And I do what I do best. And I actually do it pretty good. But is it easy? Heck no, it's not easy. It's difficult. The hardest damn job I've ever had in my friggin' life. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I'm very hard on myself when I don't succeed as a mom, and I fail quite a bit, but I also do a really good job at it at the same time. At the very same time, I just try very hard. When I'm on camera with you, we went apple picking. I came home and rushed and got their lunch together, a hot lunch before I would come up here to be, do this for the first time. And I was nervous because he didn't even tell me what the questions would be.
I said what we were going to talk about like 2 days ago.
But I'm a person where in my comfort zone, I like to know, but I said, you know what? I'm going to do something different and just be, and that's what I decided, to do. I just wanted to just be, so I agreed to do it. And I wasn't going to hound you and say, what are you going to ask me? So I appreciate it. And I thank you for asking me to, to come on.
What stopped you two from getting married?
He didn't want to. We always felt as though we can do the same thing without having a piece of paper, in terms of, because the paper is just, that's all it is a piece of paper. Everything else is still intertwined, so we just didn't.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Barbecues at grandma's funeral. It is very sad. It's very sad to see. And I think people with marriage, they sometimes, in terms of, we see, especially on social media and things like that, we see all the easy things about marriage. And we don't necessarily see the hard things. It's just like parenting as well. And sometimes people get married for the wrong reasons, whether it's, that they felt as though they were in love with this person, but they really weren't. Or the union just didn't work. They weren't on the same pages when it came to finances or morals or having children, all of those things. And I'm not saying that I don't believe in the institution of marriage. But sometimes people get married and they find out that's not where they want to be. And it's so much harder to leave when you are married.
Ask some questions, but I mean, here's the thing. This is the part where I say it is not your responsibility to define the type of relationship you have, because I've got a bunch of non-traditional relationships myself, but I'm going to say what she said so that everyone can see. Did you allow you to spend the finances like that, or did she not adhere to her man's instructions? I don't know the style of relationship they had. In some relationships, the man leads and directs with everything, and some they don't. But they're also not married, so that can also limit his capacity to give instructions. So
that's a whole nother that's a whole nother show in terms of that, and it's also in terms of the finances and independence before I was in a relationship. So, that's spilling over. And I'm very strong willed and set in my ways, and I don't listen, or I don't want to listen. I don't want to hear the things that I know that are best, in the long run. But I'm learning. But very strong-headed.
So that can go either way. Let's look at what Craig said. Shout out to strong Black couples making gains regardless of labels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's based on, it's, not necessarily defining. It's just doing, and that's what we've been doing, trying to do and make better. And just trying to make the right decisions, for our household.
Well, again, Snuggles, we may have to have this is a different conversation. She said, what makes you not, and this is a conversation that's more on the Black couple side, as opposed to anything else, what makes you not want to listen? Because for me, and I'll just self-disclose here, the relationships that I have with women are kind of modern, but not really. I can offer any woman that I choose to have next to me protection and provision, in return, loyalty and obedience, starting from even before official relationship status. Some women don't want that, and some women do, but I put it on the table very, very early. I've had, interestingly enough, when this crisis hit, you would have been shocked by how many women in my past who didn't want to be saddled with the dictator YusefWateef. Suddenly, when things get awkward, that guy who had all this shit together and all he said was, in return, you're going to listen to everything I say or you can leave. Suddenly, I was in fashion. Imagine that.
Yes. Imagine that. Yes, I know. And it's not it's not about that, not listening. There's so many other things, but it's a whole nother conversation.
She said, big woman, please believe in yourself. A strong example for we want my son to grow up believe in a better world. I'm sitting here drinking my water too. I try to get down about a gallon a day. I just got back from the gym actually when we got on.
I'm not to a gallon, but I had to drink a whole bunch. I had coffee, so I'm now on water right now.
Are you a daily coffee drinker?
Yes, sir, I am.
Not that all roads lead, and I'm gonna leave you alone after this. I promise.
You promise? Okay. Because don't mess with my coffee or my wine.
Coffee and wine. That sounds like breakfast champions over at your house. Is that how you coping? Is that how y'all get down?
Coffee. More so coffee.
So I actually just did a live video called How to Order Coffee in Brazil because I have a lot of people coming down.
I didn't get to finish it, but I started watching some of that video the other day. In terms of, and I listened to how you describe the coffee, and it was fun. I was just, because I do drink a lot of coffee, and so I'm curious to the about the Brazilian coffee. My uncle teases me about the coffee all the time.
Oh, listen, your uncle knows what's up.
Mm-hmm.
If he's here that much, your uncle will be able to tell you that. I mean, I'm not a coffee person. I'm a tea person. But when I'm out, like I don't even have coffee in my apartment. But when I go out with my friends, I will have a coffee, and I always get reminded, like, ooh, it gives you, it does something to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We did how to order coffee in Brazil. We did that video for everybody who wants to check that out. Yeah, it's different. Minas Gerais is a state in Brazil, I believe, where she's from. She said you will love coffee of Minas Gerais, which is different.
Okay. Yes, I love my coffee.
Knuckles wants to know, do you have any relationship advice?
Communication. It's important to know how, and I'm not just saying communication based on talking to one another. I mean, communicating with them and knowing their beliefs around something and how they operate around something. Because just because you like someone or you lust someone, it's very different after you live with someone. Living with someone is so different than just dating someone or having sexual relations with them. You really, really need to know someone well before you get into a relationship with them. And money is definitely something that will play into that love thing. Because
can you say that again?
Money will definitely play into that love thing, because the love, that newness, that new car smell, all that stuff will wear off when you have real struggles in life. And don't, you add children, dogs, family members. So you have to think about when you're dating someone, look at someone's family as well, because when you're dating them or you end up marrying them or whatever you do with them, guess what? Their family typically will come along with them and all their stuff. So you need to look at all of those things. And it may sound heavy, but it really isn't. It's planning for your future and knowing what you can handle, because that's how people break up, is that they go into it lusting for one another, but then they find out that they don't necessarily have the same morals and values, and it just doesn't work. Or maybe the one person doesn't want to work, period. And that becomes a problem. It's like, what? You don't want to work, or bring money in or anything. So the communication is definitely the key, but on so many levels. And make sure that you like them. Just because you love someone doesn't mean that you like them. And that's a whole deeper conversation in terms of if you actually like someone. And you can love people and not like them. But don't just base your relationships just on thinking it's based on love. Sometimes you will get together with someone based on you're having a union, when you have a union based on, this is how I'm going to survive, and maybe you'll learn to like them or love them more afterwards. Sometimes you look at arranged marriages very differently, because you look at what they think about, in terms of the actual union. And we talk about this a lot in this household, how we understand it a little bit better in terms of arranged marriages. Because sometimes it's like that in real relationships, huh?
Oh, I have friends who are in arranged relationships. I have a friend of mine who called me one day and he says, "Hey, I'm getting married." And I said, "Wow, congratulations. I didn't even know you were seeing anyone." He said, "No, my dad just called me and told me." And we had an interesting conversation over coffee one night because he said, here's the way relationships work where I'm from. He said, think about this, Wateef. You've been on your channel and you've talked about how men shouldn't be allowed to make any major decisions until they're 30. That means no buying houses, no guns, no marriage, nothing big. Why? Because you're not that smart. Now, do you trust yourself as a man who's well over 30 to have made a good decision about who to marry at 30? No, I've been married. Didn't bother me. I had a good one, but it was over 30. I said, no, I didn't think about it that way. He said, now consider this. When my dad called and said, we have this girl we want you to marry, you can meet her. And unless there's some glaring problem, you're going to get married. Because my mom knows her mom. All her aunts, they know, are these decent women. They know, do these women steal out of their husband's wallets? She knows, do these women, prioritize their families? Her dad knows his dad. He knows, does her father and her uncles, do they beat their wives? Do they protect and provide for their wives and children? So when they did say this is a good woman, they're saying the package is a good one.
Mm-hmm. And that's really kind of, in terms of the communication, you find that out, of course, on your own. Finding it out. You find it out in terms of your relationship or your union with someone.
Love is a recent construct regard to unions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, relationships.
Well, I will say something, and I think you understand. I say this with love and respect. This is not an attack. It's just one of the things you learn as a man who becomes financially successful, not that I'm rich, but when you get to that point where you're no longer struggling, you really have to qualify whether or not you're going to put your name with a woman who's, some women are earners and some women are burners. And you don't want to be with a woman who's going to burn through your cash, or at the very least be a zero sum. At the very least have a woman she might spend, but she's not going to spend more than she's bringing in. Because I know men smarter than I am that have a ton more money than I have, who they keep picking women who are burners. They lead with their wallet while she burned through it. What good habits does she have coming in? What?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at least he's trying to teach you the game.
Yeah, he is. He is. He definitely is.
So, wow. We have been talking for an hour and a half.
I know. I was like, I can't talk to him for an hour.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add you to the master list. I have a list of people that I have, whenever I go live, they always are welcome to join and be part of the roundtable discussions. And I'm going to add you to that list because I think, a lot of people would enjoy talking to you. They would enjoy hearing your perspective on a lot of different things.
Well, I'll chime in when I can. You're lucky you got me for this long and nobody actually, that's because they're probably watching a movie or on their tablet. And I believe Eric is outside putting our new patio set out on the deck. So
I want to go back over one of the biggest things. If we take nothing else away from this that we can agree on, when your daughters are getting that second language, when they really want to, I can help you find really quality language learning resources for them to really get the languages. And I also suggest you and your husband learn the language with them. It's going to be difficult if they're both learning two different languages, but to do that as a family, my goodness. Could you imagine, a few years from now when you can take that family trip someplace and be speaking when you get off there? Can you imagine the doors that it opens? It's huge.
I can. No, thank you for that offer.
All right. To everybody out there, back up, Vicky. Do you have any last words for them?
No, thank you for listening to me, and I wish everyone well in whatever or wherever your journey takes you. But it's just important to take care of yourself first. Self-care is key. Taking care of your body, but taking care of your mind is just as much as taking care of your body.
Do you and your family exercise?
Pardon?
Do you and the family exercise?
Not necessarily together, but yes, we have. I've actually, since I've been in, I've been exercising more, drinking more water, exercising more. One of the girls likes gymnastics, but she hasn't been able to go. So I've been just trying to, dance with them, things like that, yoga, but it's more of me just getting in the routine of, walking and being healthy.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. To everybody, be safe out there. When I click off, you don't have to worry about clicking off, but we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you. And everybody watching, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. That's how this channel keeps growing. Share this video on your Twitter. Share this video on your social media, on your Facebook. And Vicky will be back.
Thank you.